Well, the good news is the next match on table 2 is also about to get underway. Zhang Anda and Sanderson Lam. So, of course, that's the second match there. They've had a long wait, not their fault. But looks like the system has been reset. Maybe they had to wait for table 1 to finish to do that. Anyway, we're underway.
Well, we're hearing manual scoring is being used on table 2.
Welcome to 2023.
One.
And welcome to the excellence of Shaun Murphy. He's one of those players, Dave, that when he plays well,
5.
you can't see how he could possibly lose.
Yeah, we saw that, didn't we, in the 2 tournaments he won. You know, he was absolutely terrific. And, of course, those events for the elite players of the season, so everyone was in form going there. Not easy to win, and he dominated certainly the Players' Championship
6.
and turned it around in the final of the Tour Championship against Kyron Wilson. That's why I suppose it was a surprise he lost round 1 at the Crucible, although with CJ we were reaching the semis. You know, just underline what a terrific player he is. But so far today he's looked good, he's looked in control of himself. He's just lost control of the cue ball there. Having said that, he's run all the way through the reds and landed in a spot where he's not on anything.
12.
I just think with Shaun Murphy, it's never a chore to play snooker. He enjoyed that little exhibition tour. It's not just snooker, there's also music involved. Because he was touring with Angus McAnally, who's a very well-known broadcaster in Ireland. He plays the guitar, Shaun plays the piano. There's also a little bit of magic as well. So, quite an enjoyable evening out, I'm sure.
Shaun Murphy, 12.
Yeah, the magician going around with a real magician.
Well, he holds his hand up, but of course he was on the other side of a pretty big fluke from Tian Peng Wei, wasn't he, in that last frame? So maybe he's entitled to something here. The important thing about luck, it's not the fact you get it, it's what you do with it when it comes along. He's not really on a colour here. But the reds are spread far and wide, so maybe a little roll to the brown. He'll put Murphy in trouble.
Lukas Kleckers, 1.
Now you can see Shaun Murphy watching the fluke. Yeah, well, these things happen.
Foul under miss. Lukas Kleckers, 4.
Targeting the lone red on the left-hand side cushion. Inevitably, that was going to be called a miss. Equally, inevitably, Rob Spencer was always going to be required to put the cue ball back.
There's about 3/4 behind the brown, Shaun. Yeah, it might just be a bit more that way, I think. Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna. You could get past middle pocket, so. Shaun?
It's not like the first one was a guide, was it?
Is that okay?
I don't know whether you heard that. He said, not like the first attempt was a guide, considering how much he missed it by. After the dress rehearsal, the performance is perfect. Word perfect. Or escape perfect.
Yeah, no.
Well, the weather's
Quite
taken a
elevated
turn
there.
for the worse outside by the sounds of things. Don't worry, Shaun, there's a roof on the place. And we know from yesterday it's pretty sturdy, because it certainly lashed it down last night.
Yeah, we're okay here, but in the past, rain has stopped play in snooker. I think most famously, 1973 World Championship quarter-final. Alex Higgins against Fred Davis. Half a century ago, Dave. I wasn't at that match, but I was at that tournament as a 10-year-old. Went to see a couple of games up there. At the City Exhibition Halls in Deansgate in Manchester. Had to be Manchester, of course, with the rain.
Kleckers is, I think, a pretty solid tactical player, but his safety will have to be good in this match because Murphy is such an accomplished long potter. But it's not just about that. It's about if he gets chances himself, Kleckers, he needs to do some damage as well. Andrew Padgett just had a couple of chances early on in that first frame, didn't take them, and the whole match just went away from him. Didn't get pretty much any after that. Having to really speak loud, aren't I, to beat this rain, Phil? It's absolutely lashing it down outside.
Sounds like they're going through a car wash.
Oh dear. Well, I said his safety had to be good. Unless the red goes in, which it hasn't, could be trouble.
Now, at this point, I could say it never rains but it pours, but I said it yesterday, and Dave did as well in the match before, so that's out of bounds.
Whoa. Six. Seven. 10. $11.
The tempest has
60.
abated, but Murphy's still playing a storm.
$17.
So many big hitters through. Williams, Karen Wilson, Judd Trump yesterday.
$22. $23.
And I think one of the reasons why all of the four players I've just mentioned there, Murphy, Trump, Karen Wilson and Williams, have excelled. These conditions, the tables are playing beautifully, and they resemble the conditions the guys are used to in the TV arena.
20.
Under the lights, when everything is slick, quick and responsive.
30. Thanks, Shaun.
So they feel entirely at home.
Yeah, he's played very well for a first match
37.
since round one of the Crucible, which was, 3 months ago almost. So
38.
that mistake from Lukas Kleckers looks like it's cost him the opening frame. This black puts Murphy 52 in front, so another red and a colour should be a clean sweep of frames for him. All four played, all four won. But it's not just winning them, it's how he's done it with these single visits.
45.
I'm sure that he's targeting more titles. Of course, he won 2 ranking events last season. That's taken him up to 11, and that's a lot.
46.
But obviously the likes of Mark Selby, Neil Robertson, Judd Trump, they're all in the 20s. So he'd love to start to catch them up. I guess Ding Junhui's his next target. He's on 14, trying to climb that list. But anyone in double figures for ranking titles has had a great career.
53. 54.
Now looking for another century. When Murphy's
60.
playing like this and he gets in amongst the balls, it's just a degree of inevitability.
61.
And it looks inevitable that Zhang Ganda's going to win the first frame against Sanderson Lam on table 2. Just needs the pink.
$74. 67.
Now that was a really good start for Zhang because he was 57-0 down. This is a clearance.
68.
81, the first frame.
He can be a very heavy scorer at times.
$75.
Well, he had 1 century in the first match. He could have had 3. He was 79.83, broke down in the other 2 frames.
76.
But he's surely going to make one here. in the opening frame of this match. Yeah, it's interesting. Kleckers was sort of not watching there, was he, as that green went in? Doesn't want to see it, really.
79.
Because he's already lost, of course, his first match, and this match already has gone against him in frame 1.
81.
This is how quickly days can unravel. If Murphy were to win the next frame as well, Kleckers couldn't top the table.
$84. $88.
Well, for those keeping score, he's made 625 centuries. And Shaun Murphy is one of them. He was asking me earlier, that's the figure he had. He was just double checking it. So he's aware of what he's on.
I think that's terrific
99.
that he's got pride in performance.
$106 on the first
And
frame.
he's justified to be proud of that breaker. 106 clearance. Shaun Murphy picking up where he left off in the first match today. He leads Lukas Kleckers 1-0. It's always a treat when one of the game's elite players performs at his peak. That's certainly been the case with Shaun Murphy so far today in the BetVictor Championship League. This is Group 4. Murphy already well on course for the second phase. If he does get through, it would be into Group D, where he would join Debchaya Anu, James Cahill, and the winner of Group 13, which is being played here tomorrow. And immediately another potable opening.
One. Blue ball.
Well, that
Shaun
has to go
Murphy.
down as a reprieve for Lukas Kleckers. I'm sure Murphy's knocked plenty of those blues in over the years, and on the basis of today, you fancied him strongly for it, but not to be. So can Kleckers now pick up the pieces and put something together himself? Get the feeling he's a very hard worker. Saw him practicing before this match. This is his chance now to get involved in this contest.
Yes, saw Kleckers practicing yesterday, last night.
Snooker in Germany, so popular as a spectator sport, as a participation sport. So maybe surprisingly, not quite. The two things don't quite run parallel. So they're looking to a player such as Lukas to really help put the game on the map as one of their own, in the way that Luca Brissell has done in Belgium, for example. I have to say, I do think the powers that be have missed a trick this year with the German Masters. They've extended it to 7 days, which is great news. They're holding over several top players, which is good for the crowds in Berlin. But Lukas has still got to qualify in Britain. Seemed a missed opportunity not to play his first round match in Germany for the local fans there. That would be a big occasion if he was the Tempodrome. Of course, he could still qualify, obviously, but to have him there as of right, as happens with Chinese players in China, seemed like a good opportunity to ensure his participation.
$70.
The one thing Murphy hasn't done today is spend quite some time in his chair. Kleckers needs to take full advantage of this and show
24.
Murphy that he means business.
Lukas Kleckers.
He'd be disappointed. He needed to make more from that opportunity because opportunities have been scarce and he may not get many more in the match. So Murphy comes back to the table only 23 behind.
Well, the missed blue earlier was a shock to the system. That safety shot was even worse. Complete malfunction.
Well, 4. Five.
Now for Kleckers, this a superior chance to the original. Not the best though.
12.
This cut back into middle is really tricky. Not just the pot, but also the positional aspect.
Well, he achieved both. Nicely played, nicely controlled. Of course, the Morningside Arena, I guess, holds happy memories for him. He got to his first quarter-final in a ranking event here, the WST Classic last season. A lot of players from around the mainland of Europe are making a bit of a move.
20.
Of course, we had Alexander Ursenbacher in the commentary box last week from Switzerland. Florian Nörsler from Austria. He's a rising star. And of course, we have the world champion from Belgium with 2 other Belgians as well. Julian Leclerc and Ben Mertens. Andris Petrov was here from Estonia. And I know you've just been to Spain, Phil, for the Matchroom pool, but I know snooker is on the up and up there as well.
Very much so. The viewing figures for all of the big tournaments on Eurosport are healthy. Petrov was very unlucky, actually. Nothing unlucky about that. Missed black off its spot. Unforgivable. Yeah, Petrov basically decided to book an indirect flight from Estonia. So there's always the danger there of luggage being lost. His cue was lost. So he turned up for his group without it. Had to borrow a cue from a nearby snooker club. Lost his first 2 matches. Then his normal cue turned up, but by then it was too late.
But this is the thing, isn't it? You know, this is why it's so much harder for the non-British players, because they do have to travel here. It incurs a lot of cost, and those sort of things can happen. That's not going to happen to a player just driving up the motorway to come and play. Kleckers was fortunate to cover the red that went into baulk with the blue.
Over on table 2, after his clearance from well behind to win the first frame, Zangander leads Sanderson Lam by 39 in the second, although Lam is scoring, and those reds are very favourably fanned out.
Well, he's overdone the white. Just a question of whether he's now on anything.
Every player, when they're playing deep screw shots for the first time on these tables,
miss.
overdoes it.
Shaun
Meantime,
Murphy's-
Kleckers has hit the pink there. As Lamb does continue the break, we'll let you know. It's of course live on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel. So Murphy can just nail him in behind the pink here. Kleckers 38 in front, but needs to find a safe spot for the cue ball here. The sort of form Murphy's in.
Yes, and Murphy is desperate not just to win, but to win 3-0. If he does so, it will mean that regardless, he will need a draw against Tian Pengfei in the group decider. Maybe it won't even go to that. Because Tian, in beating Lukas Kleckers, only won 3-1, whereas Murphy is yet to drop a frame.
What an effort this is. Oh, what
Foul.
an effort that was.
Shaun Murphy full.
That's a great shot, even though he hasn't hit the red. Such a great attempt, but he's going to get another go at it. At least he didn't quite leave the red on.
Yeah, Murphy would have preferred him to hit the red, flick off it and leave it on.
Rob Spencer pressed into action again.
Lucas. Yeah, Shaun.
But of course it has to be a miss because he was playing for a particular red. There's 7 reds that he could hit. He's playing for this particular one. Another great effort. This is it going to reach? Not quite.
Foul and a miss. Shaun
I
Murphy
mean, that time he got the direction perfectly, just not quite the weight. So if he can put the two together, third time lucky maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Foul and a miss. Shaun Murphy full.
Normally in this situation, snookers are a means to an end, not an end in themselves. So Murphy's trying to force a chance rather than be mindful of getting a boatload of points in penalties. But he's already given 12 away, Kleckers.
Lucas, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Foul and a miss.
and there's
Shaun
another
Murphy
4.
full.
If you can think of sort of the most fun you can have in life, this is the opposite for Lukas Kleckers. He's trapped in behind the pink in a frame where he's had chances and was sort of in control of, and now he's giving away all these points and still has got to hit a red.
Okay, yeah.
He's come close, but close isn't good enough. You've got to hit one, otherwise it'll keep going back. This is his 5th attempt. Again, he's close. He's close.
Foul and a
He's
miss.
not close
Shaun
enough.
Murphy full.
What a nightmare.
Yeah.
But as Dave said, the application of the miss rule is absolutely spot on, because
Okay, yeah.
hitting other reds, that would be a much easier escape.
6th attempt. How's it looking this time? No. The record is
Foul with the
16.
miss.
Stuart
Shaun Murphy.
Bingham. In fact, we were talking to Stuart about it when he was commentating with us. It was a frame he won in the end with a big break. It was against Jimmy White. And all the misses came right at the start of the frame, so there was still 15 reds on. Yeah, Murphy looking at the points. Going up, 24 of them have gone on the board there.
Like relearning your 4 times table.
7th attempt. Will it be the magnificent 7th here for Lukas Kleckers? No, it won't.
Foul and a miss. Shaun Murphy 4.
The problem is, you know, it's easy to say, well, play for a different red, but he doesn't want to leave a pot on. That's the problem. You know, he could play into the 4, but then he's probably going to leave Murphy bang in. So he's going to persevere, I think, with this. But Shaun Murphy just enjoying the free gifts here.
1 misses 4,
Okay, Lucas.
2 misses
Yeah.
8, 3 misses 12. He's only 10 behind now.
Attempt number 8 to hit a red. This particular red he's gone for on each occasion, just off the top cushion. Is he going to go round it? Oh,
Foul
but he's
and a
left it
miss.
on this
Shaun
time.
Murphy 4.
What a nightmare that was. But this is the worst result to leave a pot on.
And the way he's been playing, this is a bona fide chance to go 2-0 ahead.
Thank you.
Just looking a little concerned there. He didn't want to drop on the wrong side of the blue and cover the black up at the same time.
1. Yellow ball.
I think that's what he's done, but the options are plentiful.
Three. Four.
Black back on the spot is important here with the 4 reds remaining in open play. He's 5 in front now, so 4 reds, 4 blacks.
11.
Doesn't need the red on the cushion. Just doing the maths, I think himself. That's all these penalty points, you know, have contributed here.
Every time he's at the table, the rain comes.
12. Thanks.
Well, Lukas Kleckers must feel like he has a cloud over his head right now. It's just a nightmare that was. I mean, he actually came so close so many times to hitting that red, but the worst result was what happened in the end. He left a red on. Sanderson Lam has levelled up 1 each with Zhang Anda on table 2.
19.
That's the second match there. It was delayed because of scoreboard issues. Yes,
27.
you really can't beat a British summer. Thank goodness we're an indoor sport.
$28. Thank you.
Didn't quite hit that cue ball hard enough. It's okay.
$35.
Rob Spencer balling out 35 to make himself heard.
$36.
But it's all sunshine and rainbows in the career of Shaun Murphy at the moment. The old magic has returned.
Black's put him 37 in front with 35 on. He's brought this last red out. Lukas Kleckers was in front, but there was a big moment where he inadvertently hit the pink, and Shaun Murphy was able to snooker him behind the pink. Now at least that red hasn't gone in, so it's one
Shaun Murphy.
successfully laid snooker required.
43.
But that's where the frame started to turn against him.
You can't see the red directly, and the green is very much a blocker as well. I don't think he can get through. If he can, it's just a sliver. And that should be that.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you have an anxiety dream and you wake up and you think, thank goodness that was a dream. Well, in this case, it wasn't. It was reality. That snooker has done him in. And this red is surely going to secure at least a point for Murphy with a chance to win all three. So he's very much justifying his favourite status in this group. Different sort of frame, actually, to all the other ones he's won. He's not known primarily for his tactical prowess. He's got a lot of other qualities that come to mind before that, but the fact is he laid a nasty snooker and he got the reward.
Shaun Murphy won.
38 the difference, 27 on the table. Klecker's not one of those
On
players
the
who
frame.
tends to concede quickly. He mulls over the situation, contemplates, but in the end he decides enough is enough. Shaun Murphy doubles his advantage. He leads 2-0. Shaun Murphy has been responsible for 4 sizable breaks so far today, but in the most recent frame we've seen, it was a good old-fashioned snooker that turned the tide in his favour. Lukas Kleckers 2-0 down after losing his first match to Tianpeng Fei 3-1. He's now playing for the minor places in this table.
Exactly. I mean, if he could salvage a draw, then obviously he still has a chance to beat Andrew Paget later to get to 4 points. But from what we've seen in this match, Murphy's a heavy favourite to get all 3.
It's the guttering, because there's been a heavy downpour. It's coming through and it's just outside the main door, but obviously you can hear it here and it echoes. We have flagged it up, it happened the other day.
Yeah, he's just asking what the noise is, and Rob Spencer explaining that because of the heavy rain, it's the sort of guttering is overflowing outside. So hopefully that noise will go away eventually. I mean, Rob Spencer is a great referee, one of the best, but even he can't control the weather.
Two rainiest world ranking events, I would say European Open in Tonga and in Belgium. Rain from literally the first day to the end of the final. And also the Asian Classic in the mid-90s in Bangkok. It was right in the middle of the rainy season. And we had some biblical downpours there, caused the roads to be flooded. That was the event when Ronnie O'Sullivan defeated Brian Morgan in the final in a deciding frame finish. And Brian Morgan now is a commercial pilot.
Well, it's worth saying, Phil, but for the rain, we might never have had snooker, because it was initially invented, wasn't it, in India during the rainy season by British Army officers who were stuck indoors, messing around with other existing cue sports, and that's how we've got here, basically.
Yeah, billiards existed, but it wasn't deemed to be a good enough gambling sport. They wanted something with a little more variety, and so snooker was created.
Tomorrow we've actually got an Indian player in the event. Ishpreet Singh Chadha will be in the group that includes Dave Gilbert, Yuan Sijun and Shaun O'Sullivan. The UT Club, which is where the rules of snooker were formalised, Dennis Taylor's actually played at the club. He was on a BBC programme, and they allowed him to go in and film, and there must have been a very emotional experience, because that's where it all began.
Yes, I'd definitely shed a tear if I went there. Really clever shot from Shaun Murphy to hold the cue ball behind the green. Yeah, that was the main priority, but also to take the red into the bunch, open up a few more, increasing the jeopardy on the escape. Deja vu for Kleckers.
Yes, once again he's looking for where he can leave the cue ball, where he won't leave a red on. It's a bit different to the last frame, I think. Those reds, I guess, on the top cushion will be his target here. Has this got the pace?
Foul and a miss. Shaun Murphy 4. Yeah.
Back we go then. It was 8 misses in that first frame, and of course on the 8th of them, the reason it didn't go back was because he left the red on.
Lucas? Yeah. Shaun?
This is a simpler proposition, but the points are going to be racking up anyway.
Foul and a miss. Shaun Murphy 4. Yeah.
You're right, Dave, what you said earlier about Shaun Murphy not known for his tactical prowess, but definitely
Okay.
last season I thought his defensive game improved.
Oh dear,
Foul
missed
and a
again.
miss.
Yeah, I mean, I
Shaun
think
Murphy.
the thing is, like I say, it's not the thing he's most associated with, but he's not terrible at safety either. It's just that if you put him up against a sort of Mark Selby or a John Higgins, you would put them ahead of him in that category, but he's in front of plenty of other people in lots of other categories.
In the first round of the World Championship, I commentated on his match against Sijia Wee.
Yeah.
He played nicely to lead 3-1.
Okay. Yeah.
And at no point in that mid-session interval did I even contemplate he would lose.
Well,
Foul
this is
and a
getting
miss.
costly.
Shaun Murphy 4.
I mean, if you count in the last frame when he hit the pink and all the fouls, that's 38 points he gave away in that last frame. Already 16 in this frame. And he can just get through the gap to pot this. So there's no guarantee Lukas Kleckers will get another shot now in this match.
Yes, that wasn't a case of philanthropy from Shaun Murphy. He didn't feel sorry for Kleckers. He would have had that cue ball put back all day long had it benefited him.
Six.
Now you see that is the art of break building. He targeted the red just above the black, didn't drop on it, but knew full well going in that zone he would still leave a red to middle. Maximise options. That's the key to scoring. Still not ideal on the red he was targeting. But he's playing with such calm assurance, Dave.
He is. I just think Shaun Murphy just loves playing snooker, loves being around snooker, loves talking about it. He has his own podcast, he commentates, you know, he's just a great enthusiast, always has been all his life. There was a moment last season where a couple of players were due to do a school visit for World Snooker Tour, and on the morning they both cried off for whatever reason,
90.
which of course could have left the whole thing abandoned. The other kids are waiting to be visited by snooker players, but Shaun Murphy at the last minute stepped in, literally with about half an hour's notice, and went there and
20.
did a thoroughly professional job, and that's absolutely to his credit.
Yeah, in terms of playing performance, we've got the rankings. When it comes to being an ambassador for the game, that's more subjective, but I would put Shaun Murphy in the history of the sport definitely in the top 5,
26.
alongside the likes of Ken Doherty and Steve Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. He understands
27.
that, you know, you don't exist in a vacuum. You can only earn a good living from snooker if the commercial interest is there, and you have to do everything you can to continue to generate that. Playing really well also helps, and that's what he's done today.
$33.
Reportedly, he's had a 9-darter. He's had a hole-in-one. He's a phenomenal golfer, I can tell you that firsthand. Wonderful snooker player. I'm envious.
I know you think, well, at least we've got the commentary, but he does that as well.
39.
And that miss has come from nowhere. Wow.
Shaun Murphy. 39.
He's confused by it. The match was sort of petering out, wasn't it? Maybe a late twist. I'm sure Lukas Kleckers was thinking, well, this is it. Till he misses this one.
And the overhead camera told us that it wasn't one of those that rattled in the jaws and refused to drop. He missed that by quite some way.
One. Pink ball, thank you.
Never have a lapse in
7.
concentration. Judd Trump missed a really easy red, much easier than the one Murphy's just missed in the last frame last night against Zhu Se. Thankfully, from Trump's perspective, Zhu didn't clear up. He missed a red to middle. But it doesn't matter how well you're playing. One missed ball can be really costly.
Thanks, Lucas. Thank you.
Well, if this somehow ends up in a 2-2 draw, it'll be one of the most
8.
remarkable results we've seen in a while, because for all the world it was going to be 3-0 to Murphy. You just never know. One shot, and we've seen it throughout the course of snooker history, one shot can change everything. And maybe that misread will transform this group. I'm sure Tian Peng Fei would love to see a draw here, because he plays Murphy last. He can really steal a march if he wins his next match, going into that final match.
Small thing, but caressing one red closer to the other, that doesn't help. And there's also a mini cluster of a couple of reds close to this top cushion to sort out.
40. $20. $21.
Now, does the angle exist to follow through and split up the two reds close together? That will do nicely. Shaun Murphy now regretting the blunder, the missed
28.
red that's given Lukas Kleckers this unexpected chance to make amends.
$29.
Yes, he's been thrown the mother of all lifelines here, hasn't he? And as I say, the match was done, basically. Well, so it seemed.
Now the two reds close together to the left of the pink. The one nearest the top cushion, I think, will pot. Certainly the upper one will go.
37. Thank you. $44. $45.
He's the new favourite for the frame, even though the cue ball bounced slightly more than he wanted to. this is quite
52.
clearly a tester, but I think the balls have been comfortably accommodated in the top pockets across the cushion.
$53.
Well, this is terrific stuff. It feels like he's done the hard work, but of course there's pressure on now to get the job done. A chance that he looked very unlikely to get. Really has come out of the blue, and he can still turn what's been, up until the point where Murphy missed the red, a pretty horrible experience. He can turn it round into what would be an amazing point to grab from this match if he could clear up here and then win the last frame as well.
Could go 2-1 here. It is 2-1 on table 2. Sanderson Lam up on Zanganda.
Yeah, this was the red that Murphy missed.
60.
No real sign that was going to happen.
$61.
Just slightly overran there, so he's finished just the wrong side of this blue. So now he's looking at the green. So nicely done, he's 9 in front, so he needs yellow, green, brown and blue for a real steal, and he's shown real steal because he had every right to be fed up in those snookers and the match was slipping away, but he stayed focused. He's really concentrated on every shot here.
Thank you.
And this
66.
is a frame that could lead to great things later in the day. I don't think he's going to win the group, but in terms of where he finishes in the table, this frame and the next are massive.
59.
14 the difference, so brown and blue are enough.
$73.
Murphy was undoubtedly the architect of his own downfall. But even so, every credit to Lukas Kleckers.
78.
Given the circumstances, what a gritty effort this is.
84.
Every credit to him. This has been a wonderful break.
91 on the frame. Lukas Kleckers.
Absolutely. Positionally very good. He was in command of his emotions and the cue ball. And Shaun Murphy's lead is reduced to 2-1. The next frame, the last of the session on table 1, very important. 10 or so minutes ago when Shaun Murphy was 55-0 ahead and in prime position in the third frame. It looked as though he was going to beat Lukas Kleckers 3-0 and duplicate his victory over Andrew Paget earlier. Moved to the top of the table, all was fine and dandy. Well, not now, because he missed a red he should have potted. Kleckers cleared up with 91 and the match is very much still open. As for Sanderson Lamb, well, he suffered a setback in the first frame against Zangander on table 2. He was 57-0 ahead. Zang cleared up. But Lamb has won the next 2 frames. And he's promisingly positioned at the start of the 4th. In that group, by the way, this is only the second match played because we had some scoreboard issues. The match that's already in the books, Barry Hawkins beat Jamie O'Neill 3-1. Hawkins, as you might expect, the top seed in what is Group
16.
Good stuff though today, Dave. Annoying about the scoreboard, very annoying, but the actual play on table 1, and particularly Murphy against Paget, that was spellbinding.
Yeah, and that last clearance from Kleckers
17.
was also excellent. Just waiting for Lukas to return. Here we go. Last frame, he was looking for all the world like 3-0, but Kleckers with the chance to take a point. And as I say, for him in the group,
Shaun Murphy.
that could make a big difference where he finishes. I'm sure Tian Peng Fei, who plays Murphy last, would love to see 2-2 here, because if he beat Paget in his second match, he would only need a draw against Murphy.
Yeah, beat Paget by any score, 3-0 or 3-1.
Well, straight away, he's knocked in a great red. He proved in that last frame 2 things, I think. Firstly, what a terrific player he is in terms of just controlling the cue ball for the break, but also the mental attitude. You know, when you consider what had gone on and being snookered, we've seen players before now who already would have given up there. They wouldn't have been ready when the chance came to take it. He was. And that goes a long way.
A microcosm of his career. 3 times he's gained a tour card, twice through Q School, another time through finishing second in the old Challenge Tour rankings. He doesn't give up.
Yes, I mean, it doesn't apply here because they're wearing polo shirts, but, you know, before now, in that scenario, you'd have seen the player in the chair, the waistcoat would be undone, the cue would be undone, they'd be, you know, making their point that it's all over. You can't afford to be like that. Things can happen. Even Shaun Murphy can miss straightforward pots.
Five.
Two open
8.
reds, then development work is needed. Of course, he could develop some reds off another red here, but that's not the way forward. Risky. Oh,
Lukas Kleckers.
Didn't expect
8.
that. But at least he's covered the red with the black.
Yeah, I mean, anything's missable, but I think sometimes he does build shots up a little bit too much, maybe. You know, he can take a little bit too long building them up, and it's almost like in his own mind he's telling himself it's a crunch ball. He didn't do that, actually, in the last frame when he made that clearance. He plays at a moderate pace, but the tempo is nice and regular. But anyway, it's a chance gone.
Can tell you on table 2, Sanderson Lamb
Foul.
is going
Miss.
to win. He's
Shaun
also on a
Murphy.
very big break, and if he can post a sizable number, that might help when all is said and done.
Well, the next match is a big one. He plays Hawkins, doesn't he? They both would have won. So it's not a group decider by any means, but whoever wins it, if there is a victory, because it could be a draw, but if there is a victory, then they're in the driving seat in that group.
Lucas.
76.
No.
I thought his performances last season showed an improvement, Lamb, and this is a really good start to the new campaign.
77.
Yeah, he plays at the Northern Snooker Centre in Leeds, so he's got great practice facilities and opponents there. Kleckers got the red second time of asking here on table 1.
The safety route back to bulk cut off in terms of skimming off the pack. So no great ambitions there from Murphy, just playing the dump shot. On table 2, Sanderson Lamb's break ended at 97. So well done to him. He's beaten Zangander 3-1. Next up, as Dave said, Lamb remains in action against Barry Hawkins, the group's top seed. The next session starts at 5 o'clock, which is in an hour and a quarter's time. So the guys on table 2 will be playing pretty much straight through.
Barry Hawkins getting ready, as you can see on the practice table, to take on Sanderson Lamb in that next match. It's a big early match in that group because, of course, they've both won 3-1 in their respective matches so far. The advantage Hawkins has is that he plays the last match tonight, so by then he'll know exactly what the position is. Big season for Barry Hawkins, isn't it? He's trying to get back in the top 16. He missed the Crucible for the first time in a long time. Jack Jones beat him, of course, went on a giant killing run there as well, beat Carter, Neil Robertson. But Barry, very disappointed, of course, to not be part of the greatest show there is in snooker.
You can't say for sure whether Hawkins will bounce back and regain lost status. What you can say is that he's got a very good chance of doing so.
Well, we saw Ali Carter last season do that, didn't we? You know, he'd been outside the top 16 for a while, actually, but then won the German Masters, got to the Players' Final when Murphy beat him, and he's now back firmly ensconced where he should be. Very competitive, though, that race for the top 16. There's so many players who are good enough, but obviously only 16 can do it. Shaun Murphy's place was under threat this time last year, but the fact is he starts the new season number 7 after all the success he's had.
Yes, he was under real pressure, wasn't he? Well outside the 16 in terms of the projections. But winning the Players' Championship and the Tour Championship swiftly changed all that. I thought the achievement of the year was definitely Lukas Kleckers winning the World Championship. How can you possibly top that? In terms of pure quality, I would have to say I think the best tournament winning performance came from Murphy at the Players' Championship.
Yeah,
sensational.
Yeah, one of his few achievements in the game. He's never been world number 1. He's been as high as 3, he's 7 now. I wonder if that's something that he would still like to tick off. I'm sure it is. Problem is, really, you've got to win the World Championship to do that because the points are so weighted towards first prizes, and of course that's $500,000. You look at the rankings now, 1 and 2 are the last 2 world champions, Ronnie O'Sullivan and Lukas Kleckers. But maybe that's just something that would be in his thoughts. Right now, he wants to win this match because he looks a certainty to win 3-0. Lukas Kleckers has made a great clearance and already he's quite cagey early on here in frame 4.
The thing Murphy has to avoid is fretting over that misread. Easy to say, how can I be in this position? It should be 3-0. I should be upstairs tucking into tea. That's a beauty. It really is. That had to be a really precise contact because otherwise, double kiss, all kinds of trouble could have occurred.
Foul. Shaun Murphy 4.
Add 4 more to the list of Kleckers' penalties in this match, but that one might not be too expensive. Yes, even with Murphy's unbelievable potting from distance, there are certain risks not worth taking.
amazing though how one shot has taken this from being what was basically a procession into now hard-fought stuff. Murphy's misread in the last frame. Just came out of nowhere. He looked bemused himself as he went back to his seat. Well, he's flicked off the blue, but I think it's okay. Depends what Murphy exactly can see from his end. Even if you can see one of those reds on the right hand side, there's not great value really taking anything on. And he's clearly a bit wary now after what happened in that last frame, the clearance that Kleckers made, the 91. Underway on table 2. Big match this. Barry Hawkins and Sanderson Lamb have both already won. Table 2 is available to watch live on the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel. Well, he's managed to cover the red close to the right corner.
The way he won the previous frame, I fancied him to pop that. Didn't get close.
Just a reminder, there's 2 days left of the first stage of the Championship League after this group, after this day has been completed, as Shaun Murphy tries to cut the red in and hasn't done so. But yeah, we're back next week for the second stage, Monday to Thursday, and then a week on Friday. It's all over. Is it all over in this match here? He's offered up the chance for Kleckers.
Murphy is extremely good using the rest, but that was, given the circumstances, a really tricky one.
Yeah, it's almost like he's sort of trying to reassert himself and also just force the pace, get out of the safety, but the fact is he's left this red on.
One.
Now, talking about tricky, it certainly applies to the black. The definition of a pressure shot. That was sweet.
8.
Started off against Tian Pengfei with a 65 break in the first frame. He was playing much quicker than this as the importance of the match has increased. His pace of play has decreased. And he caught the incorrect red there.
8.
I'm with you, Dave. I think if you take too much time, you create too much negativity in the brain. And you can be too careful.
I just think there's a danger sometimes of building up a shot to be sort of too big, and that is going to ultimately lead to a bit of anxiety, isn't it? So Shaun Murphy gets his chance. He's been put through his paces here in a match that he looks certain to win easily.
1.
But we know he's got the quality to make the key breaks, and this could be one coming up here. It would complete ultimately a very successful session for him with all 6 points on the board, if he can take the frame here.
It's a decent chance, but not a
7.
formality to produce a big score. Blue off its spot, never a good thing.
8.
And those 3 strange reds in a squiggly line have to be sorted out.
Forty. 50.
Looks as though the black spot is occupied, so it would go on an alternative, unless, of course, the black spot is cleared. Now then, that really does open the door.
22. 23.
And Dave, when you've suffered a lapse in concentration, as Murphy did
30.
at 55-0 in frame 3, it tends to wake you up.
Well,
31.
you call it a lapse in concentration. Of course, famously last season he said that's not the reason players miss. He'll be after you.
That's why I said it.
I'm going to let him know afterwards.
And folks, he's not joking.
Well, whatever it was, he can forget
30.
about it as long as he does now take the match out. Still some work to do, but he's building a nice lead, and
30.
he is taking care. You can see after the slip up in the last frame that he's really not taking anything for granted here.
Underscrewed that.
45.
This red is thinner than it appears. That camera angle gave a better indication, but the red's in. But where's the next one coming from?
I suppose the calculation here is there any point just taking 6 points?
ball.
If you can put a colour safe with the 38-point lead, then maybe that makes more sense. So that's what he's looking to do.
Shaun Murphy, 46.
Well, that's a play our friend and Eurosport analyst Joe Johnson would have approved of. The 6 points with the pink would have taken him 44 ahead, but there's still 67 on. The only thing I will say, he could have got the yellow a little more safe than he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted it on a cushion. These reds then have been opened up, so 38 is a good lead, but Kleckers maybe only needs one more chance at a red to get in and make another frame-winning break. It's turned into quite a tense match for a match that at one stage was completely one-sided.
Now, two things there. He might have left the red to middle. The other thing, has he possibly left a plant for future use? That's what Kleckers is looking at. Solid start from the Hawk on table 2. Snookers required by Sanderson Lamb. Barry Hawkins surely will lead 1-0. Well, how about that? We always knew that red was there and it was theoretically on. What a pot. He's refusing to go away.
Needs another good one here. Well, he's potted it. He's lost the white, but the black went in. Barry Hawkins is going to be 1-0 up next door, so a crunch match that. And at the moment, the top seed going well.
Again, he's shown interest in this, what is now a 3-ball plant. The direct pot is also there, but that's tough. Suddenly,
9.
the frame, in one fell swoop, opens. And right now, Murphy is regretting not getting that yellow safer than he did.
Well, that's got to be the shot of the day. He controlled it well. To execute the plant, yes, but to finish nicely on the black. 3 reds in the open. A chance for Kleckers to steal what is an unlikely draw when he was 2-0 and 55-0 down. You would not have believed at that point he could get a point out of this match, but it's in his hands.
60.
When two reds are set, fair enough, they'll go. But as Dave said, it was the control of the cue ball that impressed. The yellow off its spot, so to the green, so to the blue. So Murphy does have cause for hope.
$23. $24.
Again, the advice I would give in this situation, don't be too ponderous. Don't break your own rhythm.
$31.
The fat lady wasn't quite singing in this match, but she was clearing her throat.
32.
And now Kleckers could salvage a draw that you couldn't possibly imagine he could get.
This is where the real hard work begins. He's going to be level pot in the pink, so he's going to need yellow, green, brown and blue. The blue's not in a great spot, and the other colours just need a bit of working out as well. Starts with a good shot to get on the yellow. Needs to miss the blue. Well, he's sort of just caught it. He has developed it, actually, which does help if he can pot this yellow.
38.
The yellow that Murphy intended to put safe and didn't execute correctly.
One of these nasty little cutbacks. Well, Phil, I thought the 91 in the last frame was superb, but this would top it, wouldn't it, if he could clear up here, because this was far from straightforward where the balls were.
Indeed. Doesn't want to be too straight on the green, but the lack of hesitation on the shot bodes well.
$43.
The kiss wasn't the best, but it could have been worse.
Well, at least he's landed with a pot on the brown, with the blue waiting to the opposite middle. He's come so far. From 2-0, 55-0 down. To have this chance, he needs two more balls. to force one of the most unlikeliest draws you'll ever see in this competition.
Yes, and that 5-point advantage at the moment is huge because it means he doesn't have to worry about position off the blue.
Lukas Kleckers. 43.
Well, in the end, he's missed. It's not been left the brown, so this frame's still in the balance. He did well, actually, to get that far, but having got that far, I'd be so disappointed not to pop the brown. Look where the white was for the blue. You know, that was basically match over.
One of the best matches we've seen in this phase. And the tenacity displayed by Lukas Kleckers has been admirable.
Foul and a miss.
Well, boots on
Lukas
the other
Kleckers.
foot, isn't it? He had Kleckers in a couple of nasty snookers.
Yeah.
But now he's in one, and he's got to hit the brown, but he's also not got to leave it on. He's gone with a bit of pace to try and get some sort of separation.
And if he misses the brown again, that's all Kleckers will need, the brown ball.
Lucas.
Nine the difference. I was getting ahead of myself there. This, though, is so tense.
Yeah, and okay, it's a chance, but this is it would be very thin, this brown, to the corner. Don't want to be missing it and leaving it near the pocket either.
It is so nervy. Now, can Shaun Murphy, one of the finest potters from distance in the history of the game, produce a trademark brown? No, he cannot.
No, the sort of dynamic has changed, doesn't it? You know, earlier in the match you'd have fancied that. I thought Kleckers actually played it really well. He was on the blue. Only just missed the pot. Now sure Murphy's missed the pot.
In the Championship League, you quite often see exchanges like this in the penultimate or last match of the group. So vital what happens in the next few moments.
Well, he's played this well. Look at the cue ball, and also he knew he was running into the black, couldn't afford to push it safe because he'll need it. It's not safe, so that's worked out well for Murphy.
Played in behind the black, and now he could find himself in a spot of bother. Murphy tries across to leave the brown in the middle of the ball cushion. Not too bad at all.
Of course, this frame has significance beyond these two players. I'm sure that Tian Peng Fei would like to see Murphy pegged back here, and the draw as well gives Andrew Paget chances to maybe climb up the table later. So all four players in this group are sort of involved in this exchange, as Murphy plays a pretty good safety. Brown in the middle of the cushion. Kleckers has really shown his mettle here, but of course he'll be disappointed now, having come this far, not to get the draw, having already lost 3-1 to Tian Peng Fei. You've battled about as hard as you can. Can he actually get the frame on the board? He's already, of course, had a shot at the brown to the left middle, which stayed out.
Has the brown travelled far enough? Looks clippable from there.
Four.
No collision with the black either, and he's perfect on the blue. What a shot that is from Shaun Murphy. What a shot.
Yeah, well, look at that position. So it's now in his hands. He needs the 3 remaining balls after all this to claim victory. He looks certain to win 3-0. He's been put through the ringer well and truly by Lukas Kleckers. Just checking the scores. But he needs blue, pink and black for victory and another 3 points.
Nine.
Welcome to pressure, Shaun, on day one of the new season. It's all on the black. And of course, this is a pretty similar kind of shot to the red he missed At 55-0 in the third frame that caused all of these problems.
$22.
No issue there, though.
Shaun Murphy.
Boy, what a match. Lukas Kleckers, very good indeed. He will gain, or at least he should gain, plenty of positives from the way he performed. But the result goes to Shaun Murphy by 3 frames to 1. He started off with a century, and he's now got a maximum 6 points out of 6. He's looking good to top Group 4 in the Bad Victor Championship League. Here's confirmation. Murphy, 6 points, 2 wins out of 2. Tian Penfei, of course, has got a 100% record, and he's up next at 5 o'clock against Andrew Paget, who with a couple of wins could still have a profitable day. As for Lukas Kleckers, he remains